Hello everybody, welcome or welcome back. Something has happened with the 2025 Tomoe River paper and I'm here to talk about it, so let's get started. In my 2025 paper test unboxing, I was quite disappointed with the amount of bleed through, feathering, and ghosting that I was seeing, to the extent where it was something I'd never experienced before with Tomoe River paper. And I mentioned to you guys that I would look into it further. I was going to go to a stationery store and I was going to talk to others and see what I could find out, basically. When I went to a stationery store to kind of test out different inks, basically the woman that worked there said she noticed quite an uptick in people who were purchasing the old Tomoe River paper. They were all sold out. They sold out of the plain grid notebooks, everything. And so she also noticed that people were complaining about the 2025 Tomoe River paper. From comments in my comments, I noticed some people mentioning something of a bad batch, right? They said there were people on Reddit who had even created their own subreddit to just talk about how bad the 2025 Hobonichi paper was. And it was turning into quite a conspiracy. And I was happy to, realize that it wasn't just me and kind of discuss amongst the pros, which is everybody, which is all of you guys. After that, I also had a lovely, lovely commenter. Her name is Blakely Shea. I will leave her on the screen. And she took it upon herself to send me some of her swatches in her paper test planners, as well as a sterling ink to compare and see how they held up. She also noticed feathering in the paper test, which I don't think she's seen before either. We were kind of both shocked to see that. But in the sterling ink, there didn't seem to be any feathering, only bleed through with some Rytech pens. All is to say that we are coming to a conclusion here. I finally reached out to Tess herself from Paper Test Designs, and I'm going to pull up her email here and kind of just say what she told me. So she says she's currently looking into the issue with the paper, but at this point nothing really can be done. I mean, they've already gone into production, they've already been distributed, right? So I totally don't blame her for that. And she kind of concurred on this idea of a bad batch. So there must have been some bad batches, and she doesn't quite know which sizes and planners have been affected or are going to be affected. But she has contacted her manufacturer about this matter, and they're going to contact Sanzen Paper Manufactory to kind of create awareness about this. And basically, she said as soon as she figures it out, she's going to let me know, and she'll probably also post on Facebook as well. So now that we have that all out of the way, what I wanted to do was just compare all the papers so far so you can make a more educated decision about which planner you want to purchase if there is one. And I'm also going to leave some alternatives to the Tomoe River paper up on the screen at some point, because it seems like it's going to be a Tomoe River paper problem just across the board. Obviously, I don't think anybody is able to tell which batch is a bad batch until the customers and consumers are using them. So first we're going to look at the 2024 old Tomoe River paper, the 2024 new Tomoe River paper, and then the 2025 new Tomoe River paper. I've got both of them here just to see if one's a bad batch or not. So here is the old 2024 paper. As we all know, the weeks switched to the new paper for 2025, so this is still old. And these are the swatches. I will compare side by side as well. So you can see that there is very, very minimal bleed through, if any. Most of this is just indentation and no ink is actually peeking through except for maybe the Pentel Energel there. And you can see the same in the actual swatches. There's no bleed through. Even with the dot markers, even with the Copic liner, they're all kind of, about to come through the Copic liner, but nothing is bleeding through. Mostly just indentation and some shadowing or ghosting. So now we move on to the 2024 new paper. Do you like my bookmark? Here we are. And then on the back, we notice there is more bleed through, right, which was expected. We have the pentyl energels actually coming through in the more concentrated parts. We have the pentyl energel Kalena 0.5 coming through, Zebra Sarasa 0.7 coming through, and then also the Rytech Aurora coming through as well. But the markers are still holding. They're still holding. They're just slightly peeking through, but no actual bleed through. We have slight peeking through there. About the same indentation, but it's similar. Now here's where the issues kind of begin. You know, we can kind of look past a little bit of bleed through, a little bit, not a lot, okay. If you're wondering about this, I had them written out of order, but I wanted for your sake so that you can see everything written as they were in the past too. So I rewrote them. Here we are, okay. So if we take a look here, you'll notice that there is more bleed through. The Sarasa 0.7 is coming through, even the fountain pen, the Pilot, this is the Namiki ink coming through, Rytech Aurora, you know, the energels as before, and then even the markers are coming through more, and the Copics coming through, even the Tombos coming through, those are peeking through as well. Okay, and then in my first video, the one that I was most upset about, it was the B6, and I did lots of different pen tests, okay, like multiple pen tests. Do you see that? Right? That was from a fountain pen. Another bookmark. And then this feathering, which I've never seen with a fountain pen before. So I did rewrite them to kind of match the others. It wasn't exactly the same, but you know, I didn't want to spend the rest of my blank pages trying to get it identical, so I hope you don't mind. But again, we're going to take a look. And like immediately, this Tombow is so disappointing to me because I think a lot of us use the Tombow Fudenosuke in our daily planners because they are so accessible, but that's a disappointing amount of bleed through in my opinion. The Copic liner too, the dots, and I mean, like before, the other ones, the Energel, the Aurora, the Kalena, the Sarasa, and then this one says Pilot Metropolitan. I wrote that by accident. It's still the Namiki ink, but even that's coming through, right? And that's, I feel like all we want from Tomoe River paper is to be fountain pen friendly. I feel like that's one of the primary selling points, is that it's supposed to be fountain pen friendly. But you know, when you're getting results like this, then you're kind of limited to the supplies that you can use, which I don't like. I mean, I feel like we shouldn't have to like settle in that way. So I'm gonna line these up side by side so you can see them all right next to each other. And in the meantime, I'm going to put up some Tomoe River paper alternatives on the screen so you can take a look at those as well. Okay, so moving from left to right, we have the two paper tests, the 2024 Hobonichi Techo and then the 2024 Weeks. So old paper, 2024 paper, 2025 paper. I tried to get them all in frames so you could kind of compare, but even from my little camera angle here, I can see that this guy is looking the worst. I actually would say that I think both the paper tests did turn out the same, so I don't think that this one's a good batch and this one's a bad batch. I think they are pretty much the same. So I don't know if that's reassuring or not. If you got a B6 and you were like, crap, I should have gotten the A6, I think the A6 is just as struggling. So yeah, and then here are the Hobonichis. And I mean, I was never happy with this either. And just an FYI, I was kind of getting to my limit of how much bleed through I was willing to accept, and that was pushing it. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like where do we go from here? I say we, like I'm not in the head office at Sanzen, okay? Um, but I think there's just, we know that Sanzen has such a monopoly over the planner community, and the planner industry. And I feel like, with that much production, with everybody going to them for their paper, I think they let the quality slip. I don't think they had as many quality checks as they should have, because I just see so much inconsistency across the board of people saying, well, I bought a Hobonichi, so far it's been fine, or I've gone with Sterling ink and one of them's good and the other one's bad, or my new Hobonichi is awful. Just such a mixed bag. And I'm thinking if you want to avoid it altogether, don't go with the Sanzen paper, don't go with Tomoe River paper. Find an alternative like the ones that I put on the screen earlier, I hear some other people are trying out different systems, but I mean, it is really unfortunate because a lot of people who love this paper or loved, they got it for really specific reasons, to do like their ink swatching or to do some watercolor. And the fact that people can no longer do that is kind of like inhibiting how we are using our planners, which should never be the case, right? You kind of want it to take whatever you're throwing at it. So why am I rambling? What am I trying to say here? I'm just thinking that, I think it needs to do better. This needs to be better. Not Tess, not Hobonichi, but the manufacturing. I just feel like this is not acceptable. Ooh, am I allowed to say that? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, bye-bye.